I don't like hiding behind these things. My name is Ed Garren, and I'm also running for the seat that Nick is running for, and Jim, and Fred, and Harold. And a little over 2 years ago when I moved here, I went to my first neighborhood association on Hayden Island, first meeting, and found that a Walmart was being planned on our island. And there was a lot of discussion about what could we do to stop the Walmart. And I'm the guy who proposed the temporary moratorium that stopped the Walmart from coming to Hayden Island. Then my neighbors sent me over to the Columbia River Crossings Project Community and Environmental Justice Group, because this bridge is going to be built 75 feet behind where a lot of my neighbors live, who are seniors, who are elderly, and I'm the guy who just doggedly every meeting said, we have new clean diesel technology that eliminates the particulates, that reduces the pollution to almost nothing, but it doesn't apply to off-road diesel, which is what all the construction equipment is going to be. And so you need to put in the contract that if this bridge is built, that all the construction equipment has to use the clean diesel technology so that my neighbors won't have to breathe and smell those fumes for 6 to 8 years. Now, I didn't grow up in Portland. I grew up in Central Florida, Tampa, which is also a mid-sized port city. Before air freight, most of the bananas in the United States came into the Tampa harbor. And when I was a small boy, my parents moved to a little town where 80% of the frozen concentrated orange juice in the free world was made, Pasco Packing Company. And in a good year, if there was no freeze, everybody had a job for 6 months. The rest of the year, 30% of the people were on public assistance. So I understand about poverty and living wage jobs, which is why I'm running on a platform of economic justice, living wage jobs, and rent stabilization. Because with the increasing density that we're planning, the pressure on the housing stock for renters is going to go through the ceiling. And without rent stabilization, the most vulnerable in our society will be out on the street. And 10 years is not enough, is too much time to eliminate the homelessness we have. But if lots more people become homeless because they can't afford rent, then what are we going to do? And I want to ask all of the folks who are running for the state offices to pledge to help me get the language out of state law that prohibits the establishment of rent stabilization in the state. I think that's unfair for the rest of the state to impose that burden on our poorest people here in Portland. So I ask you to pledge that while you're running on this campaign. The next thing, if you want to help the city of Portland, make sure that you elect Democrats this fall. Because I've had a career in social services for 30 years, and the reason we have all these problems is because in 1981, Ronald Reagan pulled back all the community block grants that did everything from put those curb cuts in for the handicapped and disabled, to mental health programs, to quality hot lunches for our children in our schools. So that's the very first thing you need to do. And once they get in office, you need to badger them to return that money out of the military war machine budget back to helping the people who pay the taxes in this country. Now, what's my vision for Portland? A Portland where everybody can share in the Portland dream. And we can do that. But right now, we're leveraging future tax dollars to build speculative housing for the most affluent, who we hope are going to show up and buy it, and in 10 or 20 years start paying taxes on it. We're throwing a few bones at the very poor, and we're ignoring everybody else in the middle. And I grew up in a state that was built on real estate speculation, Florida, and I've watched it go up and down my whole life. Last but not least, leadership. This is my campaign materials. Why cut down a lot of trees to print a lot of fancy paper, to throw away, to fill in landfills, to tell people that you should vote for me? This directs you to my website, edforportland.com, E-D-F-O-R Portland.com. There's some of these back there. Everything you need to know about me, from my career to what I've done, where I came from, the long history I have in community activism and organizing is on that site. Please take a look at it. The cards are back on the table. Thank you very much for having us all here tonight.